People might diss AI art and say, oh, we thought digital art was bad, and now they're doing digital art created by robots. Oh, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. Well, fuck 'em all. If you've drawn an OC and the idea of having to create an entire world just for a background feels daunting, no longer will backgrounds feel like hell. Obviously, you'll still have to probably sell your souls to a corporate devil to be able to draw hands. And then it's world domination. Just to prove a point, I've taken my guardian demon created by AI and recreated him in my style. Literally drawn right over the top of that AI art. Oh, people will say I'm an abomination. Good luck. As usual, to keep you entertained while I draw, I'll read you a little fanfic. I'm quite fond of this one. The fanfiction I've decided to read to you today whilst I draw is called Guardian Demon, Sebastian Michaelis Love Story. It's on wattpad.com. Chapter 1, Saviour. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. With my head lowered, I sat in the cage, my wrists and ankles covered in shackles. A few tears ran down my face. I could feel the blindfold wrapped tightly around my eyes, soak up the tears thirstily. What did I do to deserve this? At least, that's what everyone told me. A hand reached under my chin and tilted my head up as a thumb brushed over my cheek gently. I have no worth in this pathetic world. Shh, the voice consoled with mocking reassurance. Don't cry, little Robin. It'll all be over with soon. So why doesn't the devil just kill me now? There was a gust of wind and then silence. My heartbeat accelerated with fear as I waited in silence for what I thought would be death. I was wrong. My guardian angel? No, my guardian demon. He smiled smugly and bowed, opening the large door for me. Welcome to the Phantom Hive Manor, my lady, he said. At least that's what Sebastian told me. I took a hesitant step forward, shaking with fright. He applied a small, comforting pressure to my mid-back, telling me to go forward, so I stepped fully inside. Intimidated by the size of the estate, why did he save me from the man called Viscount Druid? I should cherish my life in this world. I won't let the master hurt you, he whispered, as he took my hand in his and led me upstairs. We stopped before a pair of French doors. Sebastian knocked on them quietly. Come in, a young yet powerful and apathetic voice answered. Sebastian opened the door for me and I entered, making sure I stared at the ground to show my submission. You would always protect me from death. My lord, I've brought you the girl. After Seal's eyes brushed over me judgingly, he gave a little smirk and stood from his desk. What's your name, girl? My life has meaning. Finny, Bardroy, Minray. Seal's authoritative voice reverberated through the kitchen. There was a series of crashes and clangs before three young people scampered to stand before Seal. I peeked my head out from behind Sebastian, just enough so that my eyes were showing. Here, master, they cried, as a little man drinking tea laughed weakly behind them. Seal twitched slightly and gestured towards me. This is our newest servant, he introduced. They looked at me expectantly, waiting for me to step out. When I didn't, Mayrin smiled, holding out her hand good-naturedly. Seal would be my new master. Hi, she chirped. My name's Minray. The rest chimed in with their names. Bardroy, I'm Finny. I responded merely by flushing and hiding even further behind Sebastian. Hi, I murmured. Minray's grin only widened. Oh, she's so cute! I could hear her squeal. His servants were my friends. Why so shy? Asked Finny innocently, tilting his head to the side. I yelped and buried my face into Sebastian's back, completely and totally embarrassed. It's just, I stuttered, I've never had friends before. There was a moment of awkward silence before Finny spoke again. Why didn't you say so? We'll be your friends. Yeah? Yeah, the others agreed, smiling. My blush only seemed to intensify as I leaned back over Sebastian again. Friends? A small smile tugged at my lips as I let myself break out into a tiny, grateful grin. I have a life again. Thank you, my guardian demon, for saving me from that man called Viscount Druid. I am priceless. I stood from my hard work in the garden and wiped my sweat from my forehead, searching for the voice. It was Finny. You have a visitor. I was puzzled. Who would want to visit me? I'd lost all ties the day Druid kidnapped me. I'm grateful. As I made my way towards the parlour, where Finny told me my guest was, I briefly saw Seal, sending off Sebastian. He watched me with concern from his office window. I have a family now. I opened the doors and looked around for my mystery guest, and then the doors slammed shut as a familiar, feathery voice tickled my ear. My, you've grown quite beautiful. At the same time that an arm wrapped around my delicate waist, I was pulled back into a warm chest. Little Robin. Then my world came crashing down. Did you miss me, Robin? My days in prison were so lonely without you. Guardian demon, please save me. Sebastian, my killer. Guardian demon, please save me. I need you. Suddenly, his presence was gone, replaced with air. I apologize, Viscount, but I don't like it when strangers touch women that don't belong to them, says the man who stole her from me. She's my property, Druid retorted with a scowl. Sebastian's wry expression twisted into a gruesomely dark, smug smile. My master would beg to differ. Since when has kidnapping been classified as rightfully yours? Then ask her who she'd like to go with, challenged the blonde lord, smirking. Both pairs of eyes averted towards me. My heart sped. I can't fight this myself. I choose Sebastian. The demon smirked, while the human frowned. You can't have her, you know. I'm her lawful owner. You just wait. She'll be mine. I love the way he looks at me. My lady? Sebastian asked as he sighed and touched his forehead in annoyance. Don't you think it's rude to eavesdrop? He yanked open the door, and 3 certain servants tumbled to the floor clumsily. Mayrin stood defending herself. 2 handsome men fighting over a confused, innocent girl. It's enough to make one faint. Who wouldn't eavesdrop? Sebastian smirked at me. Well, what do you think of this? I flushed and looked at the ground, self-consciously. I began playing with my thumbs. Sebastian turned back to the others. I love the way he acts around me. Let's see, he mused. I suppose I have to punish you now. You may not eat anything I cook for the next week. They groaned. Ah, but Sebastian, argued Bardroy. Finny finished it for him. It's not fair. The 4 continued to argue with each other angrily. I love him. The edges of my lips curled into a tiny smile. It was the first time I'd felt something other than apathy, confusion, or fear. I liked it. I was truly happy. and I learned to love. My blush only intensified. Stupid butterflies. My stomach is not your home. Curse him. Later. Curse him. Finny leapt into the pool, managing to splash me a bit as I squealed and flinched back. His head broke the surface and he grinned at me. Curse the way he makes me blush. Curse the way he makes me blush. Come on in, it's great, he called as he cupped his hands around his mouth. I stepped gingerly towards the pool, extending a single toe before running back and hiding behind the pool chair again. Finny laughed. Curse the way he makes my stomach erupt with butterflies. Then Bardroy, yelling, came running in. He picked me up like a princess and jumped into the pool, still with me in his arms. I panicked and flailed around for a moment before we came back up to the surface once more, laughing. Mayrin was soon to join us. Curse the way he makes me act. What in God's name are you doing? Seal's voice asked. Our heads snapped towards the little gate that led to the pool. He stood there with a raised eyebrow. If I didn't know better, I'd say he seemed a tad amused. Sebastian stood behind him, smirking. That's when I realized I was only in the bikini Raymond insisted I were. My cheeks lit up like a fire. Sebastian, I stuttered like a fool, hiding behind Finny for protection. The others stood tall and saluted Seal. Young master, they shouted, fearfully. He slowly smirked and waved us off. No, you have fun. Consider this your day off, he offered. The three cheered, but, the Lord continued deviously as he was about to exit the gate, tomorrow you get twice the work. Everybody froze, horrified, and then groaned. Then he left. Curse the way he makes me feel. Sebastian stayed, his eyes raking briefly over my new outfit. Well, it seems you have a new style. I blushed and nodded shyly. His eyes flashed. I like it. I felt like I was going to die from embarrassment. My life is perfect. Your afternoon tea, my lord, I murmured as I entered Seal's office. Sebastian was in the kitchen preparing a snack. Seal nodded curtly as I set it before him, my eyes flickering towards his undone jacket. Let me get that for you, I offered, as I made my way towards him to button it up. He sat still. Excuse me for my delay, young master. Today's snack includes... And Sebastian went off into his detailed description as he burst through the doors. I sat down before Seal, making sure to refill his little cup whenever it became low. Sebastian sat beside me, waiting for further orders. I doubt it was a coincidence when our legs would brush up against each other accidentally. I felt giddy as we shared a quick side glance before looking away. I blushed. What could possibly go wrong? The door slammed open as a few policemen strolled in casually, holding up an official-looking document. We have proof that the young girl beside you has been illegally taken from Viscount Druitt. We've been given permission to take her from you, by force or not, and place her back into the custody of the Viscount. So please, do not resist, one explained quickly, flashing us the signed paper. We stared at it. Confusion, me particularly in fear. He was back. Oh yes. And this time, I couldn't escape. You see, I always get my way. The words rang in my head as I sat on the filthy floor of my prison cell, my ankles and wrists in shackles. I hated myself. I hated this place. I hated myself. I hated him. I'm sorry. I failed you, Lord Seal. I disappointed you, Sebastian. I confused my only friends, Raymond, Bardroy and Finney. What use was I? I only caused trouble. I was back at square one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. The door creaked open slightly. Come now, my little Robin. Let's have some fun. His mocking, tormenting voice echoed. I whimpered as he lifted my chin with his hand and pressing his lips to mine greedily. Tears streaked down my face. Shh, don't cry. It's very unbecoming of a young lady, he consoled as he wiped them away with his thumb. I'm sorry. There was nothing I could do. No matter how much I wanted to get out, I couldn't. I'd only get beaten again. Two lips crushed against mine once again as I felt my mouth bruising a bit. If I was dead, surely I was in hell. Just so that you know, Sebastian. The Viscount's hands roamed over my clothed body hungrily as he travelled down to my neck. My tears never stopped. Why was he torturing me like this? I'm no longer the same girl I was a month ago. The master wishes to see you. I smirked evilly and turned away from his newest maid. Let him rot. He won't be happy. He can go to hell. The girl sighed from her spot at the door as she cast an empathetic glance at me. Why can't you just do as he says? I snorted. That twisted bastard, I don't think so. The brat can't always have what he wants, so I'll ignore him. Life goes on. I sniggered, half driven by madness. The girl turned away and hurried back to him. I waited for a brief moment of silence before I heard a crash, obviously something glass, and a scream as he hit the poor kidnapped girl. She reminded me of how I was when I first was captured. The Viscount stormed furiously in and grabbed my wrist painfully, holding me a good foot or two off the ground. I spat at him and turned my face away, grimacing. It was cute when he threw fits, but I hate his punishments. Who am I? Why me? Who am I? I don't remember anymore. I'm nobody. I don't even have a name. What can I say? My heart grew cold and icy with all the beatings he gave me. I saved you from that demon slave master, and this is how you repay me, he screamed as he drew his hand against my skin harshly. I spit up some blood as I glared at him and hissed, "Hypocrite!" His face flushed from anger as his second strike made my cheek tingle and burn. Then you came back. The side of my cell smashed into bits as two eerily red eyes peered at us from the dust. When it all cleared, it revealed two familiar faces, Sebastian and Seal. Seal smirked confidently. "Ah, we finally found you." His expression became serious as he lifted his eye patch, revealing his mark to me for the first time. "Sebastian, free her and kill the Viscount. This is an immediate order." My heart melted. My cheeks flushed. All my old emotions came flooding back at once. Love, happiness, joy, relief. It was overwhelming as I shuddered. Sebastian smirked. "Yes, master." "You can open your eyes now," came Sebastian's melodic voice. I reopened my eyes to find us back at the Phantom Hive Manor. I was in Sebastian's arms, and instead of the smug smirk I expected to see, I found myself staring at an entirely new face. Sebastian looked scared, relieved, and slightly worried at the same time. I was sure my own face read confusion. "I feel warm. It feels nice." "You little brat," he hissed. You had me so worried. I thought you were dead. Do you know what I've been through this past month? I flinched back from his harsh, grating tone and looked at the ground. I was in a prison cell, being groped by a viscount, but please tell me of your hardships. I replied with all the courage I could muster. Why was it that this man could crumble all of the walls I tried so hard to build up with a simple glance? I could feel him tense. Then his voice softened. You really don't know how much influence you have on people, do you? He chuckled. I still didn't look at him. You don't know what you can do to people. You have no idea how much you've toyed with my mind while you were here, do you? For a brief moment, his lips brushed over mine lightly in a suggestion of a kiss. My eyes snapped up to him, my blush returning to my cheeks. I touched my mouth in surprise. There, I know, he murmured, as he stroked my bright cheeks tenderly. I leaned into his hand, comfortingly. I was home. You silly little human, he muttered beneath his breath. I've fallen in love with you. Thanks for watching.